spinning. The wheels are spinning. All right, we got 4 check marks. We got to get that 5th going before we get going all the way. 5th spinning wheel.
So
and the wheel's
close.
still spinning. And here we go. We done did it. Tuesday night for Building the Broncos. Welcome in, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. How you doing, Carl? Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm doing well. I spent most of the day on the road.
Okay.
So if I get up and do some jumping jacks or yoga on the screen, you know why, because my legs are just feeling like Jell-O right now.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad to be back this week. Last week was just crazy. So many things going on. Tornado hit pretty close to where we are, and had some friends, their houses, got hit pretty hard. So, but hey, a lot of communities came together. It was really cool to see. I showed up, and they were like, "Oh, all the work's already done. Okay, we'll go home." So, just kind of cool to see a whole community come together. But always glad to be back here with Building the Broncos. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm a little tired. Had a good hike yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Crossed some cornices as well, which I don't think my mother would be that appreciative of, but it was beautiful views, and I had a good time. Clear day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Always got to take advantage, and overall pretty good. A little tired. I had the show this morning as well with Scott, which was fun. But here we are. So let's get to matters of business before we get going too far. I don't know why our names aren't showing up, but I am Nick Kendell along with Carl Dumler, your co-hosts today. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. You can also follow Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH. That can be a help to both of us, but also, guys, make sure you're following our main accounts at BTB Football Pod and at Mile High Huddle. That can do us a heck of a lot of good. Can help us both out, help out the brand, help out the show, help out Chad, Zach, Luke, Carl, Eric, Lance, Scott, et cetera, et cetera. Also, guys, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Follow us there. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle again, and become a supporter. That helps us a lot. Guys, if you're joining us on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share. That helps us a lot. If you're joining us on Facebook, please click those thumbs up. And before we get going any further, oh, there's our names. Well, I don't know. Did you do that, Carl? Was that your magic? Oh, my gosh. Good job. That's congratulations. Let's say hello to everybody in here right now before we get going too far. Dez in the house with multiple thumbs up. Be like Dez, guys. He's on YouTube today, but on Facebook if you're doing it, or YouTube, the like react, the heart react, the laugh react, the wow react, the angry react. We're here for all of it. The care react, one of my favorites. We also got George Newton in here. Hello all. Jay Kozad in the house. Hello Broncos land. Or hello Broncos land. Sorry, can't get too excited about Teddy Bridgewater passing any receiver. Nothing against him, but boring. Well, we'll get to that, but I'll take any positive news, I guess, and we got to cover it. George also coming in June 1st. Where's Aaron? Ron, June 2nd. Let's set the calendar, but I think that hope is dwindling, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm just tempering expectations as I tend to do, both in anybody who knows me, right? I'm Nick Kendell. Don't get too excited. Temper your expectations. Sup Broncos country from Dylan going on here. George also saying, what's up, guys? We got Michael Crabtree in the house, the chain yanker himself. Jeudy going to be great. Well, if Michael Crabtree is saying this, then looks like pretty good. Very different types of wide receivers, Michael Crabtree and Jerry Jeudy, but fun to see. We got Curtis in the house here saying, so excited, was thinking about this all day at work. Curtis, hello. Thank you very much. We have Chase Wellner in here saying, kind of bummed Hamler is already having hamstring issues. Me too. Facebook fellas, Facebook user. What a interesting name. You should sue Facebook for that if they probably stole it from you. What's up, fellas? We got Anthony also in the house. Good evening, gentlemen, from Anthony Cordova. Good to see you, Anthony. Always good to see you, Anthony. Nathaniel's in the house too. Denver Broncos for life. Greg Smith. Good to see you, Greg. The chat just jumped on me. There you are. Ernie Mays also always commenting. Always a big supporter. Ernie, hello. Kendell and Dumler. Go Broncos. Go Lock. And go the whole team. Go everybody. Go Ernie. I'm here for that. Andrew Morrow says, welcome back, humanitarian Carl.
Too kind.
I told them you're out there doing good work out there in the community. We got D also coming in. Let's not take this news too seriously just yet. That's a good call. Bob Skinner in the house too. Oh, here we go. Marcus Lerma coming in here. Lerma. Let us know, Marcus.
Lerma. Yep. Lerma. I know him. Oh. He's good. He's a friend of mine.
There you go.
I told him about the show today. He's like, dude, send me a link. So Marcus, good to see you in here, buddy. And glad you're good. Glad you get to listen to some Broncos. He's a 49ers fan.
Oh, okay.
So, but we'll welcome him in here for sure.
he should go back and listen to our love of Trey Lance. I think he might appreciate that. We got Karaoke Chris in here. Hey guys, what's up? Jerry Holland's in here as well, building this badass Broncos team. Don't know if I can say the ass word, but it's in the Bible, right? They talk about donkeys, so I just think I'll get away with it here. John is in the house. Good evening, gentlemen. Hope all is well. Muhammad, love Muhammad in the house. Up, guys. Pobby back in the house today. Hello, all. How are you doing? Pobby was so generous this morning, so I wanted to give her a specific shout out again. We really appreciate that, helping not just obviously Broncos for breakfast, but I mean when you do that, it helps us a lot. We got Willie boy in the house. Just here to say equestrian, poultry, padlock. So we'll leave it at that. Garrett's in the house too. Good evening, you guys. George Fox coming in here. What are your thoughts on what Jeudy said about the difference between Drew and Teddy with the way the ball is throwing the ball? We'll get to that, George. Tim in the house. What's up, Broncos country? Dylan Von Ark's in the house. Terrence Henton, Nathan Brown, Nathan Coral, Sebastian Dispo in here. Oh, Pobby saying it's good to be here. Pobby, it's always great to have you in here. And I think we said hello to everybody. If we didn't, I don't know if I said hello to Garrett. Hello, Garrett. Good to see you. And well, I think that's it. I want to make sure everybody gets it. Joseph in here, also Denver Broncos for life. Ernie saying no 49ers, only Broncos. Ernie is a diehard, man. He is ride or die. I love it. And also love you fellas. Well, really appreciate that. But let's get into it today. Not to make too much of it because it is 7-on-7 OTAs, but there seemed to be a trend today where a connection that maybe is emerging between the Denver Broncos potential starting quarterback, one they just acquired, veteran quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, and Jerry Jeudy. And I know this is one I think we've talked about a few times. I know I've talked about it with Scott at least, that we're not sure how the quarterback battle is going to play out yet. I would be fine with Locke or Bridgewater, honestly. I can't control it, so there's positive ways to success with both those guys with the way this team is built. But I did think Bridgewater with Jeudy is a better match than Drew Lock and Jeudy, just given both of those players' styles. So seeing it come to fruition today, I mean, don't read too much into it, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you look at the quarterbacks that Jeudy played with, of Mac Jones and Tua. Both of them don't have a cannon of an arm. They were known for their accuracy in college. I mean, there's a point there for Tua that he had more touchdowns than incompletions when he started out. That it was a couple years ago. But he started off the season just about as hot as any quarterback you've ever seen in college football. And Jeudy loved it. Jeudy was his number one target, and those two had a great connection. And so those softballs coming in there, easier on the hands, for those guys that struggle with their hands a little bit, a softer football is a little bit nicer. And, so I can understand why he would be talking about the difference between the two. And we've talked about it here too, that Drew Lock, he has the fastball. We know he's had the fastball. He's had it all of his career. He's always had a good arm. There's never been any denying that. It's always been, can he learn to do other passes? Can he learn some of those lob passes? Can he learn even on the short passes that he doesn't have to rocket it in there every single time? Give your receivers the best chance to go make the catch. And so I do think probably if it was up to Jeudy, there's a good chance that he'd probably pick Teddy. But it's not up to Jeudy. And there's other receivers that I think could do better with Locke. I think that if Locke starts, it's probably better for Cortland Sutton. If Teddy starts, it's probably better for Jeudy. Just different quarterbacks work with different receivers. And so I don't think that's all that crazy to say. And so it's just kind of a matter of preference because they are opposite quarterbacks in a lot of ways. And it's going to be up to the Broncos coaches of which kind of style do they really want to put on the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the quote today, getting to it from earlier from one of our commenters, I don't recall off the top of my head. A lot of you said, I want to say hello to all of you, but I can't remember who said it. But any comments about what Jeudy said today? And Jeudy said essentially Locke throws more of a hard ball, where Bridgewater throws a little bit more of a floater. It's a little easier to catch. And I also want to give a shout out to Andrew Mason, one of my favorites out there. We talk regularly, very often, a little bit of football back and forth. He's a good guy. He says, don't want to put too much into OTAs, but Jerry Jeudy was sensational today. His routes are crisp. He generated separation down the field, which is key. Also, guys, caught everything thrown his way, and 2 deep receptions were perfectly placed in time by Bridgewater, showing an emerging chemistry. So again, I think it's really important to lean into the not putting too much in OTAs, the 7-on-7s, because things change once you're 11-on-11. OTAs, 11-on-11s, preseason, regular season, playoffs, right? Like there's different tiers of getting it done and how things are called differently. But that's, I think it can only be seen as a good thing. How much does it actually matter? Remains to be seen, but it's obviously not a bad thing. I'm excited to see Jeudy doing it. And I put out a tweet earlier today, just kind of, again, referencing if Bridgewater's the starting quarterback, I think that's better for Jeudy, just the style of play. If it's Locke, I think it's better for Cortland Sutton. But somebody's like, well, how could you say that, Nick? Even with Jeudy, let's say it is Bridgewater, even with Jeudy, he's still an unknown. Well, Jeudy last year was, a lot of the data shows that Jeudy was impacted by the quarterback play last year, and also losing Sutton hurt him a lot. But also historically, wide receivers, year 2. Typically, you see a big jump year 1 to year 2, and how quickly people forget. Cortland Sutton, year 1, up and down, drops, issues left and right. Year 2, oh, buddy, looks pretty darn special.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think people forget Cortland Sutton dropped a lot of passes his rookie year and struggled with route running, looked slow on the field at times. And like I said, sometimes wide receivers, it really is that second year. I saw a stat that showed wide receivers that had stats like Jeudy his first year, what they did year 2, almost all of them jumped into the 1,000-yard receiver, 6 to 8 touchdown kind of season, which is exactly what you expect from Jeudy. And we got Jeudy has to blame someone for all of the drop balls. Hey, let's put it on him. I mean, he definitely deserves the criticism. He dropped some easy ones and maybe cost the Broncos a couple games that 1 or 2 plays could have turned it the other direction. He deserves that criticism. And I don't think him by saying Locke throws a hard ball, Bridgewater throws a softball. I don't think that's him trying to take blame or put that blame on somebody else. I think it's just saying exactly what we see on tape. They have very different arms, and so you have to adjust to whatever quarterback is on the field. So if Locke starts, Judy's gonna have to adjust to knowing that the ball's going to come in there a little bit quicker and make those catches. It's why, to me, if the Broncos can figure out their quarterback situation earlier, it benefits them, because then those wide receivers, that's who they're working with.
I agree. I want to just, your last point real quick. It would benefit the Broncos if they decide the quarterback position earlier, but that's only if they get it right. If they need more time to make the right decision between the two, I would rather that than and have a little bit of a ramp up, especially with the opponents they have early on. Obviously, the Broncos have been terrible out of the gate the last 2 seasons. This year's hopefully different. But given the schedule, right? Like 2 rookie quarterbacks in the first 3 weeks, a Giants team that honestly, a lot of mimicking the Denver Broncos. I think if there's an NFC team that is the Denver Broncos this year, it's the Giants. Just how they attack the secondary, third-year quarterback, poured resources in the offense, put up or shut up time for that quarterback, no doubt. Daniel Jones and Drew Lock also linked because of that draft class.
Right.
But I think that's one where you could see them go a little bit. If they need to take more time to get it right, I'd rather them do that than like pick them to be like, okay, well, we have to do this now, because even though, let's say they pick Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater's playing better and Lock's worse, like, you don't have to make the decision. It's better to make it early, but I'd rather you take your time and make the right decision.
Right.
Let's get back to the comment section here real quick. We got Mo Ron saying, whoa, not used to these shows starting so early. You mean on time? I think that's what you mean. On time. I was hauling butt from where I was at work in my car. I might be 5-10 minutes late. No way. I try to be punctual and let people know when that's not the case. So here we are on time. Garrett Ringy coming in here, or Ringy maybe. Hey, what do you guys think about the Broncos trade for Aaron Rodgers, or if they did trade for Aaron Rodgers? If you can trade for Aaron Rodgers, with the way this team is set up right now, a bunch of young, cost-control players on offense, aging defense, team coaches that need wins right now, you do it. I'm sorry. There is a point where I'm like, that's probably too much for a 38-year-old quarterback. But you know, like, if you can, you do it. And there's only a few quarterbacks in the league, honestly, where I'd be like, okay, I'm not trading for Aaron Rodgers. Like probably 8 or 10, maybe. And Locke and Bridgewater are not in that air right now.
Right.
So
right.
That's what
it just, I had somebody message me earlier, something about if the Broncos have top 20 quarterback play this year, they are a playoff contender. And I said, you're probably right. I mean, with this defense, with this run game, with these weapons, they could be right.
Back,
right. They could be right on that verge if they stay healthy to be a playoff contender. They got an easier schedule. All the things are setting up that they could go on that kind of run. Yep. And I said, but you add Rodgers to that with this easy schedule, with everything else that I just talked about, you go from playoff contender, like playoff or making the playoffs, to Super Bowl contender, possibly winning the division over the Chiefs. I mean, that's the kind of difference that we're talking about. I mean, we're hoping one of these guys can emerge into a top 20 quarterback. We know that Rodgers is a top 5 quarterback. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's what he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to halt everything. Pobby coming back in here with the top of the top ropes, like from the canopy, the top of the trees, the top of the mountains. Honestly, gotta do that one in the Pacific Northwest. Thanks for the great Broncos talk, Carl and Nick. So good to be here after a long time. Thanks for all that you guys do. And man, that's the second big one today. So I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. As I had somebody on Sunday. I have my Broncos cup at my office, and somebody's like, "What is this? Where'd you get this?" And I was like, "From a good friend." So, Bobby, we really appreciate you. You are just truly the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't know what to say. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you getting the Super Chat ball rolling here today on this fine Tuesday evening. I know that your work schedule changed, so you can't join to the evening show, so it means extra special to us that you sought us out today and joined us and decided to be that generous. So, man, thank you so much. Carl, you're a wide receiver guy. I want to get to this real quick. Nathan Brown coming in here. Carolina's wide receivers were the number 1 duo last season. I'm not sure if Nathan is a Carolina fan. I will say I don't know how you could not pick Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, even though they were not great last year. But like with how good Julio is and Ridley emerging the way he did, I think that would probably have to be the number 1 duo off the top of my head. There's potential for
I think
CeeDee Lamb and Cooper, but that's it. Yeah.
I think it's based on stats. I don't think it's just on the eye test. I think it's just on stats. He was very much a wide receiver targeting kind of quarterback. Robbie Anderson and who is their other guy?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. Yes. Both very good wide receivers in their own right. They both bring a little bit different style to the game of what they do, but both of them worked well with Bridgewater and put up some pretty big stats, not big touchdown stats, but they did put up big receiving stats. And so if you're Cortland Sutton and you're Jerry-Jeudy, you like that 1-2 punch, both of them getting their 1,000-yard season, you're going, that gets me paid. So you definitely like that when you're looking at it. Drew Lock, that was one thing that you and I have talked about. He has struggled with those throws outside the hashes.
Yeah.
That's where his struggle has been. Inside the hashes to those tight ends, that has worked well. And so I think this is one of those, maybe again, Noah Fant benefits if Drew Lock starts. The receivers benefit more if Bridgewater starts. And so it just, they both have, like I said, very, very different games. It's not a plug and play. Hey, if Lock is starting and gets hurt, Bridgewater is going to come in and run the exact same plays. They're going to have 2 different sets that for whichever quarterback is out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're correct. And just, we've kept it pretty simple. Can you execute the offense? Can you get to the right reads based on what coverage is being called by the opposing team? And can you protect the football? Right. Then you can start getting into a little bit more secondary and tertiary things like, yards per attempt, the efficiency down the field, red zone, third down percentage, like all stuff that matters. But the basics, executing the offense, protecting the football with a team that has the weapons that the Broncos have, the defense that they have, the emerging young offensive line that they have, running backs that they have. You don't got to be a hero. You just got to be kind of that captain of that ship and steer it not into the rocks, right? Don't listen to the siren song. Oh, maybe I can force that ball in there. Don't do it. But it's just, maybe it's a little bit conservative. I know we don't want the big plays, but you don't got to do that. I keep coming back to Drew Lock in that Chiefs game where the Broncos were in it. Like they had a real chance at Arrowhead. That interception was just like, I don't want to say unforgivable because he's a young guy. He's going to make some mistakes, but that's the textbook example of what you cannot do. That's just what we cannot have this season.
Right.
So let's get to Lorenzo here with a question here. I saw a rumor. Don't know how verified this rumor is. It might just be some dot connection here. That Jalen Smith from the Cowboys could be on the trade block, and Denver was one of the teams listed. Well, first off, that's a team that might be looking to load off a linebacker, but a couple things here. Jalen Smith, not very good last year. He looked like he was running close to E. That was a reason that he fell in the draft, right? There was sure like how he'd recover from that knee injury, how long that knee was going to last. He didn't look like the same dude last year. Also, he's coming over with a $7.2 million cap hit. I'm not sure there's an out after this season, so I'm not sure exactly how that works out for the Broncos, but then it rises exponentially for like the year after that, 9 million, 11 million, 11 million, 12.35 million. There might be zero dead cap on the Broncos for that, but like with his play showing last year, I am very, very skeptical that he is going to be worth that contract. So maybe I'm glad the Broncos didn't pay him when he was a free agent, but he didn't look good. He did not look good.
And like, I don't mind where the linebackers are at right now.
Yeah.
The Broncos, it's not a unit that's going to sit there and be tops in the NFL, but they're not going to be the reason the Broncos are losing games this year either. They're going to give up some plays, don't get me wrong, but they got smart players out there. They've got some backups that have some promise that could take over a starting spot. There's competition at the linebacker spot. It wouldn't surprise me for Jewel or for well, oh my gosh. Like I said, I'm spacing names here today. For Alexander Johnson to lose their spot. I mean, Strnad, he was a very promising guy last year before he got hurt. The coaches really raved about him. So second year in the system, have to see what he can do. And of course, they went out there and got themselves a rookie that is one of the most athletic freaks out there. We'll see. He's injured right now. I'm not sure how long that injury is going to keep him out. But I don't see the Broncos trading for Jalen. I just can't really see it unless it's one of those like 7th round picks and he comes in and he has no dead money. So if they can cut him after camp, then yeah, you go for something like that. But otherwise, I'm not taking a swing at him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Miller 707, hey, Nick and Carl, can you please shout out my mom, Shauna? It would make her smile. You guys rock. Hashtag shout out to Shauna. Let's also get some shout outs to Shauna in the chat here going as well, because it's not just Carl and I. The thing that makes this pretty special is the community as well. So let's get some shout outs to Miller 707's champ's mother, Shauna, in the chat. So that would be great. We appreciate that. And a shout out to Shauna. Let's get to Chase here. He asked a little bit ago. So I want to get back to it. Did Carl and Nick already talk about Hamler's injury? If so, I can go back later. Not yet. Saw it in the comments. We definitely want to get to that. So I think now's a good time. Yeah,
it's definitely concerning. I mean, we've said the same thing about Drew Lock, that he's had 2 years of injuries, and both injuries have been to his throwing arm, and one to his thumb, one to his shoulder. Anytime you have back-to-back years, especially injuries to a similar area, there's going to be some concern. And Hamler, those speed guys, they're so finely tuned that it's kind of like one of those. Did you ever watch Parks and Rec?
Oh God, love Parks and Rec. Yes.
Okay. Well, you know how you talk about like if there was a grain of sand that would get into his body, it would throw the whole system off, and he'd just be it'd be terrible. And then he got sick, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so bad." Anyway, that's kind of what it is with those speed guys. It's why like guys like Tyreek Hill, like he's great, but there's one day you're going to see him dive off a cliff. Like there isn't like the steady decline like you saw with Demaryius Thomas, where every year is just getting a little bit less and less. No, it's going to be a nosedive. And KJ Hamler, I really hope he can get this figured out, because he can be a huge weapon for this offense. I mean, he really changes what kind of plays you can call on the field. But you definitely have to be concerned with these hamstrings showing up. Now, I will say it does sound like the Broncos are being more just cautious than anything else. I mean, it's June. Yeah. You want him for August, September, October, November, December. Those are the months that you really want to see him on the field, not here in June. So if he has any kind of pain in that area, you sit him out. You let him watch from the sideline.
Yeah, and I do want to say, obviously, he had the hamstring that led him to not running the 40-yard dash in the combine and whatnot. But in college itself, he did not have any real injury issues. So to say the Broncos took this massively injury-prone guy, I would push back against that. Like, I know that's something, oh man, here we go, KJ Hamler again. Like, I get it. But also, that's like new information the Broncos were not dealing with when they selected him. There was one incident, and it's kind of exasperated itself. So hopefully it gets it right, because the Broncos don't have anybody else like KJ Hamler on this team. Right. They could really use that guy. I want to shout out to Nathaniel here as well. As the best wide receiver duo last year, Metcalf and Lockett. I'm in Seattle, so I should have thought of that one. That's a pretty good one as well. They also have Russell Wilson cooking, right? Let Russell cook. But that's a good shout out as well. And we got In the Shop with Willie with a $2 super over on YouTube. If you guys are joining us on YouTube today, please like, subscribe, and share. Willie says, Luke would have told me he loved me back. Well, Willie, you have to earn my love. And with a $2 super, you get it. I love you, Willie. Good job. I am absolutely. I will love you for money. I am not above that. And we got Wardy Eagle coming in here saying, sup guys, any indication thus far on which QB is winning in camp? Both are still on the starting line, right? Like this is the guy stretching before the race. As far as like winning the race, hasn't even started yet. The gun hasn't even popped.
Right. And it's interesting because, I listen to a lot of people who are actually watching some of practice and talk to different people. Right now, it depends who you talk to. Honestly, I've had some people say that Bridgewater has had a lot more of the wow throws, which is interesting. And then others saying, hey, well, Locke's working on a short game because he knows he has the long game, and using some golf talk there for you people. But so maybe that's what he's doing. But I've also heard that he's been throwing into traffic on some throws that should be the easy throws, but he's still making the wrong read. I don't know. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. And as Vic Fangio has said, until we get these guys in pads, until there's an actual pass rush, until we're doing like 11 on 11s, we're not going to be judging too much. Right now, we're just trying to install the offense. Those are the things that they're doing. I do think, most of the highlight tapes that you've seen so far have been Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take too much into that yet.
No, it's 7 on 7s, right? Like It's fun. It's good to see the guys out there. My biggest takeaway that I can get from any of this is that guys aren't suffering serious injuries, right? Like if they can get through a session and like nobody tore their ACL or Achilles or Liz Frank or God forbid anything like that, awesome. That's my biggest takeaway. But still, it's fun to talk about still and maybe take a little bit away from it. We got Mike coming in here who is an ardent Drew Lock supporter, and we appreciate that, Mike. Different strokes for different folks. I'm very much a prove it guy. And Drew Lock's from the state of Missouri, right? He should be a show me guy. He should know that he has to show it before anybody really believes, but not for Mike. He's seen enough. Saying, I remember when Tom Brady threw a similar pass, we're talking about the Kansas City interception, I'm sure, that Locke did, only it was a playoff game against Champ Bailey. It happens especially with younger guys. Elway, Favre, and both Mannings threw these bad passes multiple times early in their career. Locke has played 17 full games in his career. People forget that too. Don't forget, but we're talking about an isolated incident. You can find, with a large enough sample size, right, you can find any isolated incident of a big mistake. Peyton Manning threw a pick six in that playoff game in 2012, right? Like that doesn't make him trash. And it's not just that one bad pick that Locke threw in the Chiefs game. That's just an example of a reoccurring issue from last season. Doesn't mean it can't be corrected. But it's an example.
Yeah. And I would add at that point, Tom Brady hadn't lost a playoff game his entire career until that game.
Yeah.
So he had earned a little bit of trust that he could have one bad throw and it not be something that we dissect like crazy. Us as Bronco fans, we do, because we're like, that is one of the best plays we've seen because we hate Tom Brady and we love to see him make a mistake. And of course it's to Champ Bailey, one of the greatest Broncos. But, yes, he had earned a little bit more trust. Right now, Locke hasn't earned quite that trust. He hasn't gone out there and won a lot of games. He's had his moments. That's what gives you that hope. He really has. That Chargers game where he made the huge comeback and just made play after play. You love it. You absolutely love it. I see Nathan Brown talking about the game last year against Carolina where he threw 4 touchdowns. You love it. You see those kind of games and you go, okay, maybe this guy can do something for you. But he's just got to do it on a more consistent basis. That's the big thing about all the great quarterbacks. Look at Aaron Rodgers, one of the most consistent quarterbacks out there. I was listening to some stats the other day. They said he is actually the safest quarterback in the NFL. I think he only has a turnover, an interception, or a fumble every 62 plays. We would love that if there was a 62 play stretch where there was not a turnover for the Broncos. I can't remember the last time something like that happened. And that's his average. So there's stretches where he does even better than that. So, like I said, he's just got to go out there and prove it on a consistent basis. And that's going to be the big thing in training camp if you are consistently hearing that Drew Lock is making the right decision, that he's being accurate with the football, that he's doing well with his footwork, he's going to win this job. I mean, those are the things that all the coaches are looking for. Like, can he rise up in the areas? Teddy Bridgewater, big thing for him. Is he willing to take the chances once the pads go on? Is he willing when the rush is coming? Is he going to still make these throws down the field like he is in 7-on-7? We're just going to have to wait and see until those kind of things start happening to him.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And, one game is great and all, but there was a game played on January 1st, 2012, where the quarterback went 31 for 44, 70.4 completion percentage, 480 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that led to him getting a massive contract that the team definitely regretted. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Do I? Yeah. That was Seattle quarterback. Well,
Ended up in Seattle.
Yeah, went to Seattle from the Green Bay. I can't remember his name, but I do remember Matt Flynn. Yes. Yep. That was everybody was just talking about that game of, oh my gosh, this is the next great quarterback in the NFL. And then he never started for the team that paid him big money.
Yeah, no, that's, granted, it was Russell Wilson who beat him out, but Matt Flynn didn't go anywhere else after that. So 1 game sample size, great things can happen, but at the same time, you see 1 game sample sizes where it's like all-time great quarterback who lays an absolute stinker. I got another game for you from another quarterback going 14 for 22, 77 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and sacked 3 times. And that game was in November 1st, 2015. Who was that?
Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Against the Broncos.
Yes, sir.
Yes. One of the greatest defensive performances I've ever seen in my life. Yep. It was a great game plan. The players executed it to perfection. Mm-hmm. Nobody was getting open. Rodgers was uncomfortable the entire game. And it was beautiful. That's when we're talking about all-time defenses, that's the game that I look at and say, that's when the Broncos really showed this is why we are an all-time unit.
Yep, and that's just, I guess the point I'm making here is Matt Flynn versus Aaron Rodgers. Everybody knows how those two have essentially played out their careers, what kind of quarterbacks they are. 1 game sample size, it's part of the picture. Like it's a puzzle piece in a 1,000-piece puzzle. Yep. Like how much are you taking away from that puzzle piece? It adds up, but you gotta be putting those puzzle pieces together, right? So and the corner pieces are like bad defenses, like the Broncos going against the Raiders. You can't mess that one up. So in the shop with Willie coming up, I still don't see Teddy beating Drew in a real competition. What are your thoughts on this? And thank you for another super chat, Willie. I love you.
I guess to me, if anything, the team is probably trying to lean towards Lock. Like they are hoping to see good things from Lock. It benefits the Broncos to have the young guy that's under the cost-controlled contract to go out there and prove himself, to take that next step and become a great quarterback for the Broncos. If anything, like I said, I think if it's a real competition, that benefits Teddy. Mm-hmm. If it's a fake competition, it benefits Lock.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it's tiebreaker goes to the young guy, right? That's what it should be. Also, Lock has 1 more year of control than Drew Lock. So this team would, if all things are equal, they're going to play the best quarterback. But if it's close, it's probably going to go to Lock because he has more tangible upside. So that, at least in my perception, with the tools that he has, still cost controlled, still an ascending player. Theoretically, still an ascending player. You kind of know what Teddy is at this point, but this team is ready to contend now, and the coaches need to win now. So they're going to go with the best guy. We got Miller with 707 coming back in saying, I kind of want us to sign KJ Wright for a year or 2. I think he would be a great mentor for Browning. Thoughts? Another aging linebacker whose son has either is setting or has set, but not the worst idea for a camp guy.
I like that one better than Jalen because at least KJ Wright last year played at a pretty decent level. Mm-hmm. Like he still showed that he has something in the tank. And I love KJ Wright. I talked about a couple years ago when he was about to hit the market, Broncos, go get this guy. Cause I really like him as a linebacker. I think he's one of the better all around guys. Like I said, he's aging, so he's kind of fallen off that cliff, but I really would love to see him come work with some of these young guys. I think he really would be a benefit. So that one I'm all for. He's a free agent. You don't even have to trade for him. Go get that guy.
Would you rather sign KJ Wright or Morgan Moses?
Morgan Moses.
Okay. Yeah,
just
good.
because
Good.
just because I think he could actually be a greater quality starter. And
Yeah.
I think he could be a long-term solution at the right tackle position, at least for the next few years.
Mhm.
When I'm talking long-term, I'm meaning beyond just this next year.
Yeah.
That I think he could be that consistent guy for him. So that's where I would rather go.
Yeah, absolutely. And Holden Adams coming in here. How good of a 1-2 punch do you guys think Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams will be this year? Well, I just got to be this guy for a second. They can be very good, but running backs are as good as the offensive line blocking for them, right? There are very few running backs who are independent or can perform independently of their offensive line. So last year, the Broncos, I think their offensive line gets probably more gruff than they deserve, but the run blocking from the interior offensive line was bad. And it needs to improve. That includes Graham Glasgow, that includes Dalton Reisner, that especially includes Lloyd Cushenberry. How good can they be? How good is the run blocking? Outside of that, especially the interior run blocking. Outside of that, though, pretty damn talented, right? Like I think Gordon's still a really talented back. I didn't love paying him big money considering where I thought this Broncos team was. I'm not really big on using large capital on the running back position unless you feel like you are a running back away. And the Broncos were not a running back away last year, obviously.
Right.
But I think they're both very talented. Are they the most talented duo in the NFL? No, that's probably the Cleveland Browns with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But they're good, and I think it's a really good situation where the Broncos can play the hot hand, and if they want to use up Gordon, that's great. Keep Williams fresh. But if either of them struggles or gets dinged up, you can go with the other one. They both can also operate any way in the scheme. The entire playbook is open. I'm not sure how much outside zone they're actually going to be running. I don't know if either of them are great outside zone fits in the NFL, but playbook's open for Shermer, inside zone, power, et cetera, et cetera. And the Broncos were trending towards a more power based run blocking scheme last year.
Right. Yep. I think they were third in power blocking plays.
It was up there.
Something like that. I know they were top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. This could be, if we're just looking at the players isolated, just those two players, it looks good. Gordon was a top 10 running back last year. I know a lot of people would disagree because of the fumbles and because, he was taking carries away from Phillip Lindsay. But the reality is, Gordon was a better fit for this offense last year. And especially second half of the season, he was probably the MVP of the offense. He was running hard. He was showing why he deserved to get paid decent money. I agree. I wouldn't have paid him that money, but he deserved to get paid by somebody because he is a good running back. And then Williams, there's a lot of talk that he could possibly go first round, that he could be the first running back taken in this last draft, just kind of depending on each team, how they had their board set up. But you add those two together, and like you said, they're interchangeable. You don't know what kind of plays come in just because which running back's on the field. You don't know if it's going to be a pass or a run. You don't know if that player is going to stay in and block or if they're going to go out for an actual pass route. It just really sets up well to keep a defense guessing what is actually going to happen on the field.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people, kind of in vogue in the 90s was that thunder and lightning combo with the running back position, which, all good for some teams, some schemes. But this is more of a thunder and thunder or Bash Bros. Now, Melvin Gordon can do some slashing stuff and get down the field in a hurry, because he's a long strider. But both these guys, big guys, if you don't square up and get a good tackle attempt on them, they can keep going. So good question, Holden. Thank you very much for that. We got some people in here. Number 3 is going to win. He said Teddy will beat Locke from EJ. Edot says, Drew Lock's going to win. Here we go from Travis Tarbox. Do you guys believe we will win this year? I think the Broncos, I can guarantee. Man, I hate this. Is how you guys say sometimes, like, oh, you paint yourself and you talk in absolutes. I don't ever do that. I'm too much of a hedger. But do you guys think we'll win a game? I almost guarantee the Broncos will win at least one game. But do you think we'll win? Yes. Do I think the Broncos will make the playoffs? That's the question. I hate to be that guy, but it comes down to the quarterback, right? Like there's injury luck, there's guys taking the next step, et cetera, et cetera. But like, if the Broncos don't get, like you said earlier, top 20 quarterback play, I'll even move it a little bit. I'll say top 22 quarterback play, just to be annoying. I think they can make the playoffs, but it's a QB driven league, and you're either going to go far because of the quarterback or you're going to be held back because of the quarterback. And right now we just don't know. We can prognosticate all we want. We can fill the room with hot air. Chats, comments, love lock, hate lock, love Teddy, want Aaron, whatever. Comes down to the quarterback.
Here's what I'll say. I think some of this depends a little bit on Justin Herbert. Like if he continues on a big path upwards, it's going to be hard to finish even second in the division, let alone third, because I mean, the Raiders are still a decent team offensively. Yeah. Defensively, yeah, you should be able to put up 30 points on that defense most games. But if Herbert kind of hits that sophomore slump, then I think the Broncos really stand a chance. If they can get to that second spot, if they can get at least to 3-3 in the division, I mean, that's a big thing. Broncos haven't been winning divisional games at all. They got to win in their own division, and they've been close. They keep a lot of those games really close, but you got to close out a lot more of those games than they have been. And it would not surprise me if the Broncos, let's say they don't get Rodgers. It would not surprise me if they are a 10-win team, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they are a 6-win team either. Or a 5-win team, just because, again, the quarterback position is such an unknown. When you know what the quarterback is, you can sit there and say, okay, quarterback is worth 8 games. We've got 8 games in the bag. Let's look at the rest of the roster. How many more games do we think we can get from that? Right now, you don't have those 8 guaranteed games. I think the defense is good enough for 6. But, okay, where are you finding those other 4 games?
Yeah. I'd probably put them, if we're talking error bars here, and talking about over-unders. I think this Broncos team won 5 games last year, but this team was pretty darn injured. Pretty much everything that could have gone wrong did. And they're just, even with getting guys back from injury, they're more talented this year on paper. So it doesn't mean they will be because it's on paper. We'll see. But in my opinion, they are more talented on paper. So I'd probably put them at, God, you have 2 quarterbacks as well. So like, it's not the whole thing where, like, let's say Drew Lock gets hurt last year and you have to play Brett Rippon or Jeff Driscoll for the whole season, right? That's when, like, oh my God, we have to set the under pretty low, because if that happens, woof. So I'll put the over under at 7. Let's go 6.5 to 10.5. I think that's probably the range that you see right now with these guys. If they get 11 wins, that'd be incredible. It's a tough division, even though they have an easier schedule this year. And also we got to see with the quarterbacks. Curtis Everett coming in here with the $5 super. I was at the game and got an autograph by Cortland Sutton and Neil Smith. Well, shout out to you. That is one Broncos great and one emerging Broncos great. So that's great to see. And congratulations to you. How much do you want? No, just kidding.
Yeah, I saw one of our listeners. He has the Barrel Man barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that is a true piece of history. I saw that they were inducting a fan into the Hall of Fame in the NBA, and I was like, Barrel Man, that is a guy that deserves, because I mean, sitting out there in those blizzards in a barrel every year. I mean, without doubt, that man, if he was healthy and could be at that game, he was going to be there. Rain, sun, shine, snow, whatever it was, he'd be there. Love that guy. Miss him. It's games are not the same without the camera going to Barrel Man.
Yeah, absolutely. And Clifton coming in here saying the 2000 Ravens wouldn't have reached the Super Bowl with Locke's shaky play. Trent Dilfer didn't turn the ball over and was definitely not a Pro Bowl quarterback. Well, you're right. There are teams that are outliers as far as not having the quarterback to get it done, but you're talking about a top 10 defense all time. Pretty rare defense. But you're right. Like, Dilfer did not hurt that team. So they were able to lean into the defense, and that's a low bar that I'm asking for the quarterback play this year, right? Like, it's a low bar. But I'm not going to get upset about it.
Can we talk though? I mean, that 2015 offense for the Broncos, I know it still had Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
but he was turnover prone that year.
He was so bad. He was.
Yeah, it was really bad. And so the Broncos, with that defense, still made up for the shortcomings of the offense, but big time. I don't think people really appreciate how much that defense covered up on how bad that offense was that year. I know Peyton Manning was still good for like motivation and being the face of the franchise and all those kind of things, but seriously, it was really hard to watch.
Yeah, it just felt bad, right? I think that's what we're going to see with Big Ben this year. Not looking good. I was hoping we'd see it with Tom Brady, but gosh dang it, he just keeps sucking the youth out of his son kissing his kids. Can we beat can we be the Cinderella team this year? Oh, from Ricardo coming in here. Can we be the Cinderella team of the year, Denver Broncos, and go all the way to the big game? Hey, man, anything can happen. If you get into the playoffs and you get hot, you need the ball to bounce the right way in the offseason. You need injuries to, you need to be on the right end of the bell curve with injuries. But anything can happen, man. Like for real. Like we could see anybody win. I think it's probably improbable. Like I'm not going to put a lot of money on that for the Broncos this year. At least without Aaron Rodgers. With Aaron Rodgers, then we'll have to have a different conversation. But anything can happen. Like it's people like talking about like Drew Lock going from what he was last year, factually a bottom 5 quarterback in the league. Sorry, guys, factually, it's fine. Like, he doesn't mean he's going to be, but he was last year. He can get better. I think he will get better. I'm excited to see him get better. But from Locke going from that to a perennial top 10, top 5 quarterback, it can happen. For sure, it can happen. Am I going to bet on it? Is it likely? No. I'm not going to lie to you, but it can. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it won't. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to sit here and talk in specifics.
Right. Well, I mean, if Joe Flacco can win a Super Bowl, the Broncos can win a Super Bowl with this team. Yeah. I mean, that team got hot at the right time. They were a wild card team. Just happened in the playoffs. They just became the best team in football. And they, like you said, they had a lot of balls that bounced their way. You think about that Broncos game. The Broncos hadn't given up like 3 plays all season for over 50 yards. And they gave up 3 plays of 50 yards in a single game.
Yeah.
It just was unheard of. And then, of course, just the cold, bitter cold. Mm-hmm. And that Peyton Manning just went from MVP to not playing his best game by any means. You had some drops. You had interceptions that showed up. It just, everything that could go wrong in that game for the Broncos went wrong. And then, of course, the Ravens went on and just had some ridiculous things happen throughout the playoffs. Joe Flacco played the best, 4 games of his life, all right in a row, and has never done it again. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Bill Vinovich, of course, had to play a part in that. But so, I mean, anything's possible. But right now, if I was a betting man, I'd say the Broncos are a fringe playoff team, depending on this quarterback competition and how it plays out, and if they actually strengthen each other.
Which is very possible. Locke's not had to fight for anything really since his freshman year of college, right? He's been the dude since then. Maybe he kind of had to fight his rookie season in the NFL, but like it was expected he was going to take over for Joe Flacco, right? So like now it's like all bets are off. You have to earn it. Yep. So, and I don't think the Broncos are leaning either way. They want both those guys to earn the spot. Right. So we'll see. And we got some supers to get to first, but this is an interesting question. And Ashton has also been very active in the chat over in YouTube. If you guys are joining us like Ashton on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for the comments, Ashton. Top 3 teams in the AFC this year. I was thinking about this one in my head. I have a really hard time with 3. I have 4. Yeah. There's a group of 4 that I have that are like clear.
1 and 2 are Chiefs and Bills.
Okay. Well, I have Chiefs number 1, and then after that, I have the next teams all tied.
Okay. Then I have 3, probably the Browns. Just that all-around roster looks really good. Mm-hmm. And Mayfield, like we've been talking about, he's not the greatest quarterback, but he is good enough. He's right there on that edge of about 12 to 14. And with that roster, that's good enough for them to be really competitive. Honestly, they should have beat the Chiefs this last year.
Yeah.
The refs missed a really, really big play in that one that really cost the Browns in that one. Otherwise, you never know. Maybe they're out there competing for the Super Bowl. But just that defense, that roster, you got to love what they got there. Offensively, they got great offensive line. Like I said, 2-headed monster there in the backfield. And if OBJ could ever figure out his issues, maybe they could really become an explosive offense too.
And I don't know how you can talk about the Browns without talking about Myles Garrett, who is, in my opinion, the best defensive player in football.
Yeah,
right now. Aaron Donald's probably the best, but Myles Garrett's star is ascending, and he will probably take that crown here pretty soon. Chase Young on his heels, Nick Bosa, but man, Myles Garrett is different. God, what an absolute freak. He didn't even like try and call it. He was just winning on pure athleticism and size, and now he's starting to get technique. He makes good tackles look stupid.
Right.
Ashton though, the other team that I was thinking of that probably worth a mention, Carl, the Ravens. John Harbaugh's a great coach. Maybe they don't have the defensive depth that they've had historically, but I just have a hard time not putting the Ravens in there right now. It's like Ravens, Browns, maybe. Lamar Jackson, he can win a game himself, right? Like he's that type of quarterback.
He
I got to
can.
add him.
He can, but only if he's winning it from the first quarter.
Dictating.
If you're asking, right. If you're asking him to play from behind and have to go out there in the fourth quarter and go make some plays, especially with his arm, when they know that you have to throw, that's why I have a tough time with them. I trust a little bit more Baker Mayfield making those throws in those big moments than I do Lamar at this time.
It's close. It's a good question, but it's close for me. I think you can't sleep on the Ravens there too. Cam coming in here with a $4.99 super over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Cam. Is Locke being the 26th of 32, or is that 26 of 32 enough for the playoffs / him to keep his job for next year? Well, obviously there is correlation to Locke playing well to making the playoffs, but the Broncos don't have to have Locke play well to make the playoffs. Does that make sense? Like wins are not a quarterback stat. There's a heavy influence in it, right? But like QB wins is not a thing.
Right.
So it's like starting pitching. Like, starting pitcher didn't win a game in the month of August. Well, his team scored 1 run for him in 4 starts. Like, are you looking at wins and losses then? No.
Right.
So 26-32 enough to keep his job? No, I would say not. I would say if he's 26 of 32 next year, the Broncos are very much in the quarterback market. He probably needs to be in that, again, like 22 to 16 range for them to be comfortable going into the 4th year. They still might be looking at that point, but that's my opinion. I think 26 to 32, you're probably back in the quarterback market, because also you're on that, take care of business or get off the pot phase, because then you only have 1 year of control left. And then what?
Yeah. I think at that point, teams would be saying the Broncos are winning despite Locke. And I think that enough people would be commenting on that, with the offense not really taking that next step that you were hoping for, especially with all these weapons, if they stay healthy. And looking at Locke and going, dude, what's going on? Why aren't you hitting these receivers that are wide open? I think you're right. They'd be in the market.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if Locke is 26 or 32 if he's finishing the season, right? They might have the kind of struggling there for a little bit. You see issues with the quarterback at that point, especially if it's the ups and downs that you're seeing right now, like really good plays, but followed by like bad plays. They might just make a switch to Bridgewater, assuming that Bridgewater was not the guy who won the starting position there. Dennis Woods coming in, also another Stars gave her this morning on Broncos for Breakfast. So thank you very much, Dennis. Double dipping today. I see you. Do you think Broncos would work a deal for Aaron Rodgers, even an expensive one, just the Raiders don't get him? Appreciate you too. Hashtag state of being. Hashtag go Hawks. All right, now I'm in. Dennis Dennis never has to super again. He's in. He's in the boys club now. Do you think the Broncos would work a deal from Aaron Rodgers, even an expensive one, just the Raiders don't get him? I mean, it's definitely something they got to think about, right? Like, if Rodgers goes to the Raiders, you pretty much have to have like a top 3 roster outside of the quarterback to even have a chance.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's so hard. That's so hard.
Right. And you think about it. I mean, it would not surprise me to see Rodgers play another 4 years. So George Payton has a 6-year contract. Well, if the first 4 years are you continuing to finish 3rd or 4th in the division, after 4 years, you're on the hot seat. They're sitting there saying, dude, should you be gone? And so at that point, I'm sitting there going, hey, this is about my job. And for these coaches as well, how do you think you're going to match up when you have Mahomes, Herbert, and Rodgers 6 games a year? You're not going to win many of those games. Maybe one a year that you really kind of sneak out. You just have a great game or the ball bounces your way or something like that. But the reality is that those are going to be written down as losses most years. So I think at that point you sit there and say, hey, okay, if it's going to cost us an extra 1st-round pick to outbid the Raiders, let's do it. We're doing it, because then we get to compete for the division. All of us get to keep our jobs, and Bronco fans are happy. Maybe long-term it's not a great investment, but sometimes the NFL, like if you got a Super Bowl window, you go for it. I mean, the Chiefs, they're throwing draft picks left and right, because they're going, we have a Super Bowl window right now. Now, I know as long as Mahomes is on that team, they're going to have a Super Bowl window. But they're looking at a lot of these young players. I mean, like I said, Tyreek Hill, good chance at some point he's going to dive off a cliff. Travis Kelce, he's on the wrong side of 30, where his athleticism starts kind of falling off a cliff. So at some point, you're going to have to start really fixing some of those offensive weapons that have been gargantuan in helping you go out there and win games.
Yeah, no, you're right. And also we had another question in here. I'm not going to find it right this second. But also George Newton said on the super sticker, we don't have John in the house here to pull it up, but let us know what it is in the comment section. Either way, it's flashing up here big and red. And we appreciate you, George, for doing that. I appreciate that. Also, Charlie, shout out saying Nick is so cautious he waits half an hour after eating a hot dog to go swimming. You made me laugh, Charlie. You always, gosh, that one got me. Top NFC teams, Carl. Before we get on out of here, I'm going through the teams in my head. It's kind of unfortunate for the Broncos, but man, the AFC is like in such a better spot than the NFC right now. Like especially if Packers move on from Aaron Rodgers,
yeah,
there's not many teams in there that outside of the Buccaneers that I'm like, oh, that's a good roster.
I wrote in our Facebook chat, I said, do you think Tom Brady bringing up all these different like memes of Aaron Rodgers is pretty much him just trying to tick off Aaron Rodgers and say, I want out of here, Green Bay? Because it's like, hey, that makes my path so much easier that I don't have to worry about going against Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. But I mean, right now it's Tampa Bay, then Green Bay. Whew.
Right.
Maybe the Rams.
West teams. The Rams, but the Rams are so top heavy that like one injury to one of their top guys, and they've given up so much depth. I mean, maybe the Rams. That's a valid choice. I'm not saying you're wrong. And they improve quarterback play, which will make a difference for them. But they're losing Staley. How are they going to do now with the defense this season? Aaron Donald's a year older. The offensive line did not get any better. It's just like. I don't know, maybe the Rams, maybe the 49ers had a lot of injuries last year. They're bringing Jimmy G back and Trey Lance, who could take over at some point. They're just a year removed from being in the Super Bowl, right? So that seems like a team that could bounce back, maybe. Seahawks have the third or fourth best quarterback in football. That's a team that deserves a shout out. The Vikings feel safe, but like safe isn't a top 3 team. At least it shouldn't be. I don't know, man. I have a really hard time. And then the NFC East, it'll be better this year. But I don't trust the Cowboys defense at all. I think the offense can be incredible. I think Dak Prescott is pretty underrated. But I mean, from a fan media perspective, not from a league perspective, because dude got paid. But Arizona could surprise also. They asked us today. I was asked on Broncos for Breakfast, who is the worst coach in the NFL? Cliff Kingsbury. That's bad. And also a good call here from Cam, Washington football team. Best defense in football, in my opinion, on paper. Their front seven is just incredibly stacked. In the NFC, maybe that's enough to get it done. Right? Like it's just there seems to be a massive drop off after the Buccaneers and the Packers. And if the Packers lose Rodgers, then God, can the Broncos just play in the NFC for a year? Let's just trade places with somebody. God,
If the Broncos were in the NFC, I would right now be saying I would put money on the Broncos being in the playoffs. That's how bad the NFC right now is. They just don't have great quarterback play. Drew Brees retiring, obviously that plays a big part in it. You're right. It's bad. There's just not many quarterbacks that come to mind that you're like, man, that is a top 10 quarterback. They're all in the AFC. That's what makes and they're all young. That's the problem in the AFC, other than Big Ben. And I wouldn't call him a top 10 quarterback anyway at this point. But
they are all young too. Yep. That's AFC is going to be tough, man. The next decade in the AFC is going to be rough if you don't have a quarterback, and that's the year-to-year ticket for consistently having contention. And we got Winston could blow up. Yeah, that's another one. The Saints, they're kind of like the Broncos in a sense. Like we don't know what we have at quarterback. Right, like around the quarterback, you got things in place. Obviously, Sean Payton is more entrenched. You know what he is better than what you know from Vic Fangio. But like, it's really hard to peg a team when you don't know what the quarterback is going to be, because the quarterback probably makes up 35 to 40% of how good that team is going to be. It's a team sport still, but like that's the ticket to the dance. So we'll see. Daniel coming in here saying Vikings has Cousins though. Cousins was pretty good last year. I do want to call that out. The Cousins was not the issue. He was actually one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football last season. Did a great job with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. Offensive line appears to be getting that much better. Can the Vikings stop the run? Their defensive line couldn't stop a nosebleed last year, let alone stopping the run. So kind of weird to say from a Zimmer defense. right? Mike Zimmer. Yes. But we'll see, especially if Rodgers is traded, the Vikings have a chance to really get after that, but we'll see. And yeah, Mo Ron coming in here saying the Vikings D was decimated. Yes, it was. And Carl, you need to say something nice about the Niners now because your friend listened.
Oh, no. Okay. No, I do like you said, they have a great roster. They did get hurt a lot last year. If their defense can stay healthy, they've got a great defense. I mean, like I said, Nick Bosa,
yeah,
he could be top 3 defensive player this next year if he's healthy.
Yeah.
So they are missing some pieces from what they did to going to that Super Bowl. I mean, DeForest Buckner no longer being there. That's a big one. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL.
Buckner?
Yeah.
They do get Bosa back though, man. And he was incredible his rookie season. Yep. So I asked that question of if you could take any non-quarterback in the NFL right now to start a team, who would it be? A lot of Aaron Donald talk, which I thought was a little bit surprising given that he's 30 years old. But I said Myles Garrett. Some people did say Chase Young. He'd be my number 2. But I think how quickly you forget Nick Bosa, his rookie year was a true difference maker.
Yep.
Right. Like,
no, I agree. I mean, wow. There were so many plays in that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. He was so close. And if the other side could have played more contain and just say, Bosa, you go get him. Other side play contain. Yeah. Boom. That would have been amazing. This is a Broncos podcast. Okay. What's with the 49ers talk? Sorry. We'll get back on topic here. But no, I mean, we're just talking about some NFC teams that look good, that have some promise and could be something here in the future. That's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see on that. Now, getting back to the Broncos. I kind of like this one here too. Mo Ron. And this is, again, what do the coaches want this year? What do they think is going to win them games? Bridgewater is a solid quarterback, nothing spectacular, but give him a decent O-line and he'll win you games. I don't know if I'm saying he's winning you games, but he's not the reason you're losing games. I mean,
he won't lose you games.
Yeah. And, with this defense and with this running attack, with these weapons on offense, sometimes coaches operate from a place of fear a lot of times. Mm-hmm. If they think you're going to lead to some really bad plays, sometimes they're willing to take the safer bet that's not going to go out there and make some spectacular plays. So it really would not surprise me if Bridgewater won this job just because of Locke really not having the trust of the coaches.
Yeah. And Jay Kozad coming in here with a great point here, saying Locke has a talent. He needs to put it together now or never. And I think that's very true. And if Locke doesn't win the quarterback battle this year, his son is probably set in Denver. It is what it is. But this is the first time that he's had real serious competition. I do think that he is aware of the criticism he's received this season. And I also think he thinks maybe it's a little bit overdone, but also I think he'd tell you that he needs to play better. So he has some self-awareness there. Points up in Madden for awareness, maybe a +1 or 2 in the next game. But we'll see. I don't want to beat a dead horse with the Locke talk because last season's in the books, and that's all we can go on right now. But that's not going to define his career. What he does now, what he does going forward, will define what Drew Lock is in his NFL career. And no doubt he has the arm talent. He has the athleticism. Man, talk about winning press conferences, right? Like Locke does and says the right things in front of the media and with fans and whatnot. So you do got to like that. It's hard not to root for him in that sense. But got to play better, right? Just got to play better. So yeah. We'll see. But Carl, it's probably going to have to do it for us today. Getting a little bit out of here. I'm also starting to melt. It's like 90 degrees here in Seattle today, and we do not have air conditioning. So I am just
remember that.
Here. Oh man, I might have to go lie down in the basement for a little bit. If we get too big of a super chat here, I'm going to have a heat stroke.
I understand, man. I remember those days in Seattle when I lived there, and it was so weird not to have air conditioning. Yeah. I've never lived in a place that didn't have air conditioning. And so opened up the windows, had the fans going, went for a lot of walks in the park where there's lots of trees to get in the shade. There's a lot of things that we tried to do to kind of cool off in those warm summer days of Seattle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that on Twitter we had some comments about Carl and I being negative about the Broncos in the quarterback position. And, the one thing I will guarantee you guys, I'm not always going to get it right, but I'm going to be authentic and tell you like I see it. And, that's just is what it is. And if you don't like it, we can agree to disagree. If you don't like it also, like, come at me. Don't just say what you don't like. Say why, right? Like, I want to have that discussion because that's what this is all about, right? Like, that's what makes this fun, that we can disagree about this and to come at it as like academics and intellectuals rather than this petty monkeys throwing poop at each other kind of stuff. So that's not for me. But appreciate you guys. Love y'all. If you have any dissenting opinions, that's great. That's honestly, that makes the world go round. It's way more fun. But appreciate y'all. And if we are being too negative for you, and also we said plenty of positive things today. It's really hard to get on. It's really hard to talk about this team and every single aspect of it without all roads leading back to the quarterback. And I hate it because it feels like we're beating a dead horse. I hate it. But you can't not talk about it. So I'm not trying to dance around it, but am trying to dance around it a little bit just because there's other things to talk about and we're all hoping for the best. Broncos team is better if Drew Lock is a good quarterback. That's what we want. That's what we all want. That's what we're all hoping for. So Carl, good to have you back. Shout out to you as well for jumping in when your community needed you last week after being devastated from a tornado. I know you got big things going on there as well. You got any plans the rest of the night?
Well, we got a bunch of paperwork for our adoption.
Okay.
So I'll just show you this is the stack of papers that we have to go through tonight. So
I mean, I hear you.
Adulting tonight.
Ugh, not great. Well, I got to cook dinner, so I got to get on out of here and walk the dog as well. And I got permits today to summit Mount St. Helens in July, so that'll be a lot of fun. We summited it in November, and it was 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts and whiteout conditions. And we think we made the summit. We knew there was a massive ledge after climbing up as high as we could go. But hopefully we'll have better weather in July. This time, though, we're going to have to start it at midnight because there is no water source. All the rock is black. It radiates heat. And if you are not coming down from the summit by the time the sun is like starting to really kind of get up there, you are going to search and rescue is going to be called.
Right.
Probably. Right. Or you have to take like 10,000 liters of water. So not about that. Appreciate everyone in the chat saying, say that we are not positive or negative and just kind of keeping it real. That's what I want to do, right? Like, I don't want to be somebody who tells you what you want to hear because that's not what I'd want. Never is, never has been. We got another super coming in here. I don't see this one. I clicked it. Okay, it's a Newton or George's super coming. Just popped back up for some reason. So, okay, well, guys, we're going to get on out of here. We appreciate the heck out of you. Stay safe. I will see you again on Thursday for Broncos for Breakfast again. We'll have more information to talk about, more Broncos stuff. It's a fun time of year. Optimism reigns eternal, which is great. But really, everyone stay safe. Enjoy the weather if you have it. And God bless. I hope you had a good 3-day weekend as well and observed and reflected on why we had a 3-day weekend as well. So appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Go Broncos.